Alright, hey, Happy New Year. My last video, as my kids told me, was like 4 years ago or something like that. And there's over 500,000 views and so many likes and subscribers and all that. I'm not doing anything with a bite, but I decided to make sausage today. And the kids are like, hey, post it on YouTube. So we're going to post making homemade sausage here today. So starting with a couple pork butts. I'm going to spend some time trimming off the fat, getting them deboned. My son is rinsing through the casings so that they'll be ready for us. Once I trim these up, I'll actually slice the pork into chunks, but kind of like into strips, into chunks. And then I'll be using a Lem number 10 hand grinder. So we'll kind of break this down into segments as we go through the process. I'm going to start with trimming up some pork butts and cutting into chunks, and then we'll progress on to the grinding and then stuffing it into the casings. Alright, so here's what the pot of meat looks like after we've trimmed it and cut it. What you'll see is a lot of my cuts are more elongated. What I found is cutting that more into strips than cubes actually feeds through the Lem hand grinder better than just cubes. It just kind of feeds into that spindle real well. What we're going to do next, because I found having the meat chilled, going through a chilled hand grinder as well makes it easier for everything to process through. So we're going to put this into the cold for a bit to make sure it gets good and frosty. Alrighty, I'm back. I'm going to mix up some seasonings now for the sausage. Of course, after cutting up all that meat and trimming, I worked up a thirst. So it'd be irresponsible for me to let you get dehydrated while you're working. So cheers. I'm going to have a little bourbon, kind of keep me inspired. Smooth, good stuff. Alright, so make 2 batches of sausage. One's going to be a sweet sausage, one's going to be a little hotter, a little spicier. And my ingredients for seasoning: kosher salt, table grind, black pepper, onion powder for the sweet. And then for the hot, I'm going to add some paprika and some crushed red pepper flakes. I will sprinkle on some red wine into my mixture as well, which you'll see when I blend all the meat together. But these are the ingredients I'll use for my seasoning. So I'll start. I'm going to use, since I have so much, I'm going to go like 3 parts salt, 3 parts pepper. This will be in both my concoctions. Then whatever I have left I can just save. A little heavy there. Spread it around. Very exact science, as you can tell. A little heavy there. There we go. 3 parts each of those. We'll do 1 part here. This is the onion powder. A little heavy. Again, it'll be alright. Okay. And for my hot, again, I'm going to do equal parts of the paprika and the crushed red pepper. The paprika is going to give it more color. and red pepper flake. Now once I season up the hot sausage, if it doesn't look like I have enough red pepper flake, I'll just add more directly to the ground meat. That'll get us a good start. I use little containers like this so I can just kind of put a lid on it and shake it up. So my hot blend, it's just the way I want it. My mild blend. So we're all set with seasonings. Next step, after a little bit more refreshment, gonna go ahead and grind the meat, and you'll see how that process goes as well. Okay, we're getting ready to grind the chilled meat. Also, the grinder has been chilled as well, because with the fat content in the meat, things get warm, it starts to gum up the grinder. So I'm going to grind it into this tray, but I've got a bigger tray that we're also going to put all the ground meat into, so we can kind of stir it up and mix it, do it all in the pan instead of doing it on a countertop. So it'll be a little bit more efficient this way. We'll go ahead and show you how the process goes again. And we're using the LEM, L-E-M, number 10 hand crank grinder. It's a stainless steel version of the unit. I've used this thing a few times. This thing cuts like a hot knife through butter. If you're in the market for a hand crank, kind of old-fashioned sort of grinder, I would certainly recommend the LEM number 10. Alright, and I got my hired muscle alongside to turn the crank here. And again, you can see my longer strips, so it makes it easy to feed into the grinder. Good. I'll let him grind, and I'll just keep on feeding the machine. And I'm using these gloves just as a little barrier, because everything's so cold that your hands just end up getting really, really numb in the process here. You're going to be careful with your fingers as you're stuffing into the mouth of this grinder here. You don't want your fingers to become part of the ground sausage. This is how the process goes. We're going to keep on going until we're through this entire bowl of meat here. So we might be a little while, but it actually gets going pretty quick. So we'll show you the finished product when we're done. Here's part of the ground meat we just did. This is going to be my hot tray. As you'll see, again, here's my mix. I'm really just going to eyeball it. I'm just going to sprinkle this all in over the top. And then I'll hand mix it in. I'll sprinkle that wine on I mentioned a bit earlier. You want to mix up the seasoning. I don't intend to use it all, but I just kind of give a good healthy coating over the top. And I think as you do, the more you do it, obviously you're just going to season it to your own particular taste. So that's the dry seasoning. Got some red wine here. I'm going to just drizzle some of that on over the top. As you can tell, not an exact science. That should be enough there. And I'm just going to incorporate that in when hand mix it. And you don't need to work it too crazily, too aggressively. Just get it incorporated in. And when we stuff it, we get it into its casings. These flavors are going to all kind of meld in together over time. I'm actually going to transfer this to my smaller tray. And I can just kind of see how the seasonings disperse through the meat. I'm fine with it, just the way she looks right there. Right on top here. Now you can see with the sweet sauce, I'm doing a little bit more of that. You can tell just from what's in the tray, it did create more. So again, this is just salt, pepper, onion powder, and I'll drizzle some of that red wine on here. Okay, we're going to start stuffing the sausage into the casings. We actually use the natural hog casings. The LEM number 10 meat grinder comes with the attachments, the nozzle you need to put the casings on. So we're going to take the meat that's been grinded, seasoned, mixed together, going to feed it back through and create some homemade sausage. Show you what it looks like. You want to kind of coax it through the stuffer and kind of manage the casing itself as it comes through. You don't want it too tight. You want it obviously packed pretty well, but if you make it too tight and don't keep it moving, you can bust the casings. You kind of develop a feel for how much needs to go into the skin itself. Okay. And that is sausage number 1. I could have got a little more right there, but so you see, that's basically how she ends up looking when she's all done. We're going to go ahead and do the rest of our batch. Maybe we'll give you a screenshot, show you what it all looks like when we're all done. Alrighty, we are done making our sausages. I made 2, 4, 6, 8. Ended up making 9 complete links of sausage. I had a little bit of meat left over, so I made some sausage hamburger patties. I'm going to grill them. We're going to eat those here New Year's Day, so we've got to have our pork. A little cold in the mid-Atlantic, probably in the 20s, but we'll still fire up the grill and get it done. But that was our process. We do it for fun. We're not pros, of course, but hey, if you like what you saw, let me know. Any questions, fire them out. Happy New Year.